Hello and welcome to Heather and Hops. My name is Katt, or Catherine. I'm a knitter based in Hertfordshire, and this is my little space where I document my knitting journey and my fibre journey and build a community and drink tea and coffee. And today the angle's slightly different. I'm going to try and crouch down a bit, but since little Audrey was joining me, if she moves I might adjust it, but I thought it'd be wrong not to include little Mai in it. There is currently a squirrel running across the roof, so she's a little bit, you can see her tail going. But I hope this finds you well. Again, I apologise about my voice and my breathing. I have been unwell this weekend. I'm recording on a Tuesday in the hope that I would feel a lot better, and I do feel better, but I don't sound any better. So I will do my best to, pause if I need to cough or sniffle, which is not the most lovely thing to hear, I'm afraid. I am fine, but, such is the season. Yeah, I've had a not very thrilling weekend. I sat on the sofa for the second weekend in a row, but it was much needed, to be honest. If I couldn't bear the thought of going out of the house and potentially passing this on to anyone, so another weekend on the sofa it was. I've done quite a bit of knitting, and I've still got more that I'm not going to share, just because I feel like I want to go slow, share properly, rather than rush through things just to try and put everything in. But I am about 260 pages through this book. Definitely for adults. I would recommend maybe reading the author's review on Goodreads before reading it. It's not for everyone. There's a lot of profanity and things, but I'm really enjoying it. And I enjoyed it to the point where I spoke to Alex, who is my husband, about it, and he has purchased it using one of his credits on Audible, so he's listening to it as well. And I'm kind of listening to it occasionally with him before bed, which is nice because I'm getting both reading it and like the audio. But if you are into illustrations and things, the artwork that's in here I think is awesome. It's beautiful. Anyway, I just wanted to share because I am really enjoying it, and I hadn't started it last time I was here. Yeah, it's nearly Advent. What? And I'm really excited, and I will share my Advent next week. I did a little swapsy without intending on doing a swap for an Advent, but a lovely maker who's time weaver, whose stitch markers are basically on any project that I have that needs a stitch marker. I'm very excited and very grateful that we get to do these things. And yeah, I haven't felt that festive, not gonna lie. I felt a bit more festive this weekend, just I think hunkering down in the cold weather and knitting on my festive socks. But we aren't entirely here for that reason, but I do want to keep chatting because I like to chat with you. I know I keep saying it. I have to shrink down a bit, don't I? But for those that have been here for a while, they might recognise that this is a new jumper. This is one that I finished last week, and I really like it. It is something that I've knit as is kind of the way when you find something that you like, you knit it multiple times, and once you've knitted it once you can figure out what you want to adjust and how you want to adjust, and this is what I've done. So this is the Cherry by Midori Hirose. It's not very easy to tell, if I'm honest, but I didn't intend on it to have a stark contrast, but it does have colour work along the neck. So this is a pattern that is designed for worsted weight yarn. I've knitted this only ever in lace weight. My two other versions have been in Mohair, one beautiful kind of smoky blue colour and another black one, which is, well, as you can guess, one of my favourites. But I wanted to do a version that would be not a replacement, but because I love these slightly looser gauge, slightly oversized jumpers that are basically like sweatshirts but hand knitted, I've noticed myself wearing my black Varpu over and over and over and over, and I thought it'd be fun to knit one in the slightly more of a colour, but to have a similar feel. So I opted to use this alpaca that I overdyed. So this was Drops Alpaca Silk, I believe. Do you like this? And it's sort of a coral red, but I decided to dye it a deeper purpley colour, and it is definitely sort of it veering towards variegated as opposed to tonal. I knitted it using one size below gauge, I think. Maybe I didn't. I'll double check and double check that. But it is it's a raglan jumper. There is increases in the yoke bit, but it has a simple cast on, and then you do quick increases in the yoke and then raglan increases. I didn't do quite as many as it called for. I figured that this was plenty of room, and it doesn't lift up too much with my arms fully up, so that's a bonus if you ask me. But I did do a big increase round a lot further up and knitted the sleeves full length, and then did the I-cord bind off, so it's slightly modified and maybe a little bit witchy, I don't know, but I really like how it turned out. I ended up using, I think, 2.5. I'll weigh it rather than try and guess, but it doesn't use up that much yarn because it's knitted at such a loose gauge. But it's warm. It's not the fabric isn't very dense, but because it's so airy and oversized, it is like being hugged. So I'm actually not wearing a top under this. It's just, yeah. So it's lovely. A 10 out of 10. If you want a fun modifiable pattern, it comes with lots of different options: short sleeves, like short puff sleeves, long sleeves. Oh hey! Yeah, and I think I have said this before, but if you did it in a worsted way, it would feel so different. I like this because it is so oversized. It's not heavy whilst remaining warm, and again, with my body temperature being as chaotic as I am, I don't need too many thick heavy jumpers. I need layers that I can build and adjust. Don't I? Wouldn't do very well if I was a kitten. Yeah, I actually, I've got coffee. I haven't had coffee in a while. I'm not actually sure if this is decaf or not. It's one that Alex left on the side today, but I've been drinking lemon and ginger, and I've had just a few teas, and I just wanted a break. I just wanted something different, so in 20 minutes time I might be a little bit wild. But yeah, I think this is a good option for people that, well, alpaca's a good option for people that are sensitive to mohair but want a fluffy yarn. I don't find that this holds up amazingly, but I think that's because the black items that I've most recently knitted I am really, really wearing, so it's pilling and felting a bit, but I wouldn't say that makes it unwearable. So yeah, I think mohair is a lot more durable for me personally. That's what my experience of it's been, but this is just so soft and like such a hug that couldn't resist it. Look at those toe beans. Right. And like I've written just a list of projects that I want to share, even though they're next to me, so I keep looking down. I do apologise. I ended up using bamboo needles for this. I'm not sure what the reasoning behind that was. I think it's because the larger sizes I only have in bamboo, really. But even though I had the opportunity to knit a small, I think it was because I've previously used the bamboo for this pattern, so it was just a choice. Does that make sense? It made sense to go with what I knew. Now I do have footage of it, but I wanted to briefly talk about the shrug that I knitted for my mum. 1 second. Okay, that was a well-timed break. Hey! So, my mum asked me, I guess 2 years ago, for her Christmas present to be a cream shrug, and I'm not sure, I guess it's just knitting for other people is more nerve-wracking when you don't have all their measurements, and it's a bit obvious and a bit strange to measure friends and family, but friends and family, if you want to measure yourselves and send me, that would be really useful. But for her birthday this year I decided to knit her a shrug, and I really wanted to go back to knitting a vintage pattern, and the way my mum dresses is sort of A-line tea dresses and fun irregular choice, and Miss Elfire shoes, if you know those brands, they're very fun. So I felt like a 1940s, 1950s pattern would be perfect, and I found one called the Bunny Hug Shrug. I'll obviously, like I try with everything, if there's something that I miss, please do ask, but I do try and put everything in the description box, but I will put a link to it below. And I think it was a 1953 pattern, which is pretty cool. It's a very simple pattern, to be honest. I couldn't believe how quickly it knitted up. It uses, I think, a 2.75mm needle and then a 10mm or a 9mm. I think I used 9 because I wanted it to be a little bit denser. And it called for what I'm assuming is Angora. Alex also was like, it would look lovely in Angora. I was like, how do you know this? Well done, husband, you're really taking in this knowledge. But I looked to what I had in my wall pantry, and I kind of tried to think back to my mum had her colours done. I think that's the right phrase, have your colours done. And she's a cool winter, I think, and to me cool winter is icy blue, ice colours. I like pine green. I feel like that's a cold winter colour too. Anyway, so I remembered that I still had a few skeins or balls of Fontion Belle, which is mohair, wool, and I think just 5% nylon. And then I had a drops lace, which is now discontinued, and I think it's alpaca and silk. And I figured that the combination of those fibres would be suitable for my mum. There's not too much wool in there, it wasn't going to be scritchy scratchy. And I think it turned out beautifully. If you're looking for a very simple, quick gift knit, I didn't intend on it being as quick as it was, to be honest, but it was like knitting a beanie, that sort of speed. It is a lovely pattern if you're looking for something to go over a fancy dress, or to add something to an outfit for an event. It's quite a cool pattern to use, I think, and it doesn't take up too much yarn. But yeah, I was really happy with it. it fits really nicely. I love the way it drapes at the back, and hopefully my mum really likes it too. Yeah, very simple, really enjoyable. There's loads of patterns on the website that I actually got it from, but it is linked on Ravelry too, so it's quite easy to navigate. If you're a Ravelry user, it's there with links to the pattern and stuff. It's good, yeah. But it is... I'm keeping you up. I think it's clear enough for modern knitters, especially newer modern knitters, but maybe just read it all section by section and then reread it, just so you understand what's happening. But it's knitted from side to side flat. You could very easily cast on in the round, then start working flat and then join in the round again at the sleeves where it joins, but I enjoy ribbing and it's not that much different knitting flat or in the round when it's 1x1 rib, so... Oh no, it's 3x1 rib. Anyway, I didn't find it that difficult. I quite like purling because I'm just that person. Yeah. Recommend having a go if you'd like at some point. You sweetheart. This one. Now, I probably could have finished these over the weekend, but I'm enjoying them so much. I've been trying to slow down, and these are my Nutcracker socks. I imagine that they'll be finished next week, if I'm honest. Maybe even they'll be my editing socks. I can't talk about a pattern because I'm now at the point with toe-up socks that I'm just kind of making them up, and I keep playing with heels, so that's something that I am playing with, but this is just a simple wedge toe up, increases for the gusset, yeah, and then instead of a traditional heel flap, it's a shaped heel flap. So I think that's maybe a Flegel. I'm not sure. If you do know, I'm happy to be told. But I quite like the shaping on this. I think for Alex this will be particularly good. I personally like a simple straight flap. That's weird to say. That fits me really nicely, but I think this will fit Alex really a lot better. I have done 2 pattern repeats or stripe repeats for the length of the sock, and I have changed back to the contrast colour for the ribbing, and I'll do it fairly long, maybe 20 rounds for Alex. I think he said he was happy to have shorter socks so that I could get another pair, but there'll be plenty, so I'm not worried about length. I still have this of a 100-gram skein, and I've knitted that. I opted to change, and this is how I like to do the heel flap. I like to have a contrast colour on the heel. I don't know why, it's fun. And I think when you're doing stripes it just looks a bit neater. So when I'm doing the increases, I stick to the striping because it doesn't change too much. You don't get too many less rows of the striping. I mean, you probably can't even tell. But then when I'm doing the flap, I change to a contrast colour. I think it gives a smooth transition. Yeah, I think I'm using 2mm needles, which is my go-to for no nylon socks. It's just a denser gauge. I do know that this lovely colour is by Stripy Cat Yarns, and she is now offering a no nylon sock base, a Corriedale base, as kind of a standard, which is really exciting. And I did notice this morning that there will be Christmas Eve cast-on boxes. I know there's a Christmas in the Cabin that's really cool. That is a concept for a sock striping set. Is just, you know, I thought I'd share it because, but yeah, I'm really enjoying knitting these. I cast on a pair of socks and have quickly ripped them out as a gift using nylon, and it is actually 2 fingering weight held together, and I didn't enjoy it, and I have to re-knit. I have to knit them, long story short. I have to knit them, but I wasn't enjoying it, and I'm not really that excited about casting them on again, but I am excited about giving them, so I want to knit them. Do you know that dilemma? Like, yeah, but this feels lovely to knit with, and I love these colours. I think I was gonna use the Cuthbert sock by Whistlebear for my next socks, but I think I might stick with the Christmas colours for now and knit myself a pair in this. Whether I do something different, so like a texture, and do around in the contrast colour and around in the stripes, so it's a broken stripe pattern, I'm not sure, but I'm quite excited to knit them again. What do you think? You make little tiny socks for your little toe beans. Because you keep coming in the bedroom window and putting your feet everywhere. Don't you? You got dirty feet. Don't know what you're playing at. Yeah, and I have to say I am really, really liking the needles are lovely, but I'm really impressed with the cable on these. I've spoken this in a bit more detail in a video, but I didn't like the ChalGoo cables that I'd previously used. Sorry. I found them really too stiff compared to Highers, which I really, really like. I love the cable on them. They're supportive, but not too supportive. They're just right. What's wrong with me? Maybe I'm coffee drunk already. So I have another cast on, and this has kind of flown, and I think half of that is excitement about colour work and getting to the colour work, and half of that's being unwell and groaning on the sofa for most of the weekend while Alex was, bless him, as always, fixing his car and brewing and distilling. So he had a really busy weekend and just kept walking past me, kind of grunting and bless him. But I have cast on another Caitlin Hunter pattern, and this is a pattern I've knitted before, and it's the Nordica, and I previously knitted it using merino singles, I believe, and a sort of peachy colour, a dark green and a kind of mossy green. And whilst I got actually a lot, I said this about a Jennifer Seingast pattern that I tested it too, people seemed to really compliment me when I wore it. They liked the colour on me, but I didn't feel like me, so that's something. And I never thought of myself as a v-neck person. I quite like a higher neck. I've always liked a higher neck, but the way I'm dressing at the moment, and more so, I feel like it will be a good addition to have a v-neck jumper in my wardrobe, especially layered with a couple of the black dresses I've got in particular. I've got a linen one and a sort of cotton blend, I can't remember what it's made from, that I'm wearing a lot, and they sit quite nicely. One of them is a wrap, and I feel like if I have a v-neck jump over the top, that would be nice, and then the other one goes straight across a bit higher, and again I think that would be quite nice. So it is a raglan construction, seems to be my thing at the moment, but it has a beautiful, or cute little cable detail along the raglans, and then it has colourwork along the bottom and around the cuff of the sleeves. And I am using Hull Scarn, Hull Super Soft, which is a very, very popular kind of workhorse yarn, if you will. It still has spinning oil in it, and a few people very kindly have confirmed that it does bleed a lot. So I'm a little bit nervous about washing this one the first time because it's colour work, but luckily I think I've picked colours that it shouldn't be too much of an issue. But I really enjoyed the one project I've knitted with this, and I do think that this will be added to my wheelhouse of go-to yarns for the future. And then this is a cone of woolly knit, British wool. I've really enjoyed knitting with this yarn. I wish I knew more about the provenance. That's just something that I think about a lot. It comes up a lot, how it's made. So I can't talk for that, but I can talk for how I enjoy using it, and the projects that I've knitted using it have so far lasted really well. I still haven't shared the first project that this yarn came from, and I really want to, but again, a really busy autumn and spring and summer, followed by quite a lot of unwellness. It's just not been right, because the other, I feel like to do it justice, there needs to be a little bit more than just a sit down and talk about it video, if that makes any sense. But anyway, these two are the, well, this was the first colour that I picked. This was purely because of this one. Now this is a hand spun that I absolutely love. This was picked up at the Southern Wool Show at the lovely Wool and Witch booth. Steph is an amazing maker. I wish so much that I could do more to get Steph doing this full time. Steph works so hard, does such wonderful things. The tools and stitch markers she creates, I use them as progress keepers, and they do go on a lot of my projects. The illustrations, just everything that Steph does is so carefully, it's just beautiful. This was recycled fibre, so it is merino and stellina, but I don't, well actually I think it's angel hair? Angelina, and bamboo, so I don't feel too weird about using it because it is recycled. I feel a lot happier than using superwash and bamboo if it's like this. Love the colours, I love how it's come out. I did do a few little checks and it looks like it's 14 wraps per inch, which is good. That seems right on fingering weight yarn, which is what I'm using, and I feel like these go together really well. There isn't the hugest of contrast, but I like how it's coming out, and I will show you. So it's on a very little cable needle, little cable. So this is the front. You can hopefully see the V-neck here, and then that there's cable details along the side. I've divided for the sleeves, and I think normally this would not happen. This would be, you know, a week or a week and a half, 2 weeks at least of work of knitting. And I've made it to the colour work, and I've done a bit of it. I like I said, it's not the most stark contrast between these two, because in the handspun there's moments of this mustard. Moments of mustard. So weird. But I'm really enjoying it. I know that my gauge is just ever so slightly smaller, because I know I knit. I know from experience of Caitlin Hunter patterns I usually have to go down a needle size, but I am getting closer. But I opted to go down a needle size and go up a pattern size, and my stitch gauge, I think, as opposed to 5 stitches per inch, is 6, and my row gauge is just slightly different, so I'm adding just a row or two of colour work here and there. So I've added two extra rows so far, so I know I'm going to add at least 4 rows extra, but I might add another 3 or 4 depending, 3 or 4 row pairs, so that it is a little bit longer but not too much longer than the pattern calls for, because there is basically only one set length, and you can increase the length here, but I wanted to add, I have added a bit of length here, I will say that. I think I added ½ inch extra. I just want it to fit the way I want it to fit, and as a knitter we get the opportunity to do so. So yeah, I am enjoying it so far, and I think it's looking kind of cool. It feels a lot more me than the previous one that I knitted. I feel like even the yarn choice is a lot more practical for me. I'm looking forward to seeing the post bloom and soften up with wear and wash. Yeah, really happy so far with this one, and I think this is going to get a lot of wear. I have this necklace, I'm not wearing it today. I have a few really nice necklaces, and I'm starting to rotate through them rather than wearing the same one all the time. But I have one that Alex bought for me on our wedding Boxing Day. I don't know, the day after we got married, at the lovely jewellery shop that's at Care House, and it's got a little green amber in it, which is good for immunity apparently. And it's like this sort of greeny colour, and I feel like that's going to be perfect as well. Anyway, I'm going to put that away because otherwise I might start knitting on it if I'm not careful. Oh, I need to hit pause. So the next 2 projects just call me Stefan Salvatore, because I am going to be ripping them out, and for various reasons, but it feels right. So this is a duck Pauline bag. Lovely Lorraine is amazing, and these bags still look like new even though I am the living worst. So in here I have 5 balls of Cheviot Marsh by Whistle Bear. I really like this colour, and this is now the 3rd time I have knitted with this yarn. And I think at the heart of it is that when we went to visit, both Tess and Alice were wearing like brioche fisherman's ribbed cardigans in similar-ish colours to this, and I feel like seeing that kind of made me feel like that's what this should be. I tried to do the field cardigan and it just looked, I don't know, it didn't look right, it didn't feel right, and I'm quite good at being able to put time into something and tear it out because it'll get more time worn further down the line. And it's kind of happened again. Now, I am not that far into this, and I think I maybe need to go back in and look at the chart that I sort of designed for this. Now, this was going to be an Aran weight cabled, sort of Gansey cabled and textured jumper, and I did use the the Gansey knitting source book. Maybe it's just out of focus, but to get some of the charts and then tweak them. There is Cornish rib in here, which I'm really into and Alex really liked too. Recommend having a look at that if you're interested in different rib patterns. But it just doesn't feel right, and what I would rather do is rip it out, leave the yarn on the side, look at it and let it tell me. Maybe it will become a ribbed cardigan, maybe it won't. But either way, here is this is actually one of Steph, who is Woolen Witch's Progress Keepers. Hopefully you can see that. Put it in line with my face. And these are all Nicole, who is Time Weaver stitch marker. So you can see I use them all the blooming time. Yeah, I think, should we do it? If we take it off the cable, A, I get these beautiful markers back, but B, there's no going back. Well, there is going back, but just to show you that it is going. Now, I do have some lovely patterns for Aran weight jumpers. I think that this is a bit of a smaller amount. I do know that I can get jumpers, big jumpers, out of the amount of yarn that I've got for me personally. So I don't think I should be worrying as much maybe as I am. Let's oh dear, let's get these. Don't want to lose them. Oh, they're so pretty. There we go. So this is quite oversized and really hasn't used much, but put it away. So yeah, I think I'm going to ponder this. I think it's a lovely colour. I think it's a gorgeous yarn. Cheviot Marsh is a woolly wool, but it's soft, it's lamb's wool. You get good stitch definition. It's not right. And if it's not right, we do something different, don't we? And then finally, this might come as a surprise. So this bag is from lovely Maggie, who is Sonda, who is doing a lovely knit along at the moment. I'd recommend just watching Maggie's channel, so you know what's going on. But it's a joyful knit along. So I have been knitting on the Stephen West No Longer Mystery MCAL. I actually really like how it looks. I've adjusted it a fair amount in. I didn't do the I-cord, I didn't do the bubbles, I didn't do the welt. But as I'm getting further, this is happening. It's just not right. It's not that the pattern's bad, because it is a lovely pattern, and I'll put my hand up and say that, but it's just, for me, it would actually go with the jumper I'm wearing, yes. It's not really what I'm looking for at the moment, and whilst it's fun, and I actually think maybe it would have made a good Christmas present for my mother, there's colours like this in it that are very special to me, and I want them to be in the right and, you know, perfect project for me at the time, and this just isn't it right now. And I'd planned my adjustments for the border. I didn't really like the striping at the edge, so I was going to do brioche and make it a bit different. But it's just not right. I mean, maybe it could make a cute little capelet for Audrey for the time being. Would you like that? But, you know, I think it's okay. I've not really got much to say on it. The techniques in this are fun, the knitting of it is fun, and Stephen is wicked at tutorials, and the knit along looked really fun, all of that great. But I felt like I was going to really learn and give my hands a break from this, but now I have some colour work on my needles, I'm satiated, and I think that was what it was, so it's gone. What can you do? What can you do, eh? Sorry friends. Deep breath. The final thing is that next week I hope to do a more in-depth video of my spinning wheel. She still hasn't been named, or he's still not been named. There was a moment last night where Alex and I thought we might refer to her as Wiggly Woo, like the worm at the bottom of the garden. I can't quite remember why. I think it's just funny. She's called a Pippi Polly, and then it would have been Pippi Polly the Wiggly Woo, or Wiggly Woo the Pippi Polly, and then you go on to use your Niddy Noddy. But she hasn't got a name yet, and I definitely felt like talking about knitting this week, so I predominantly am. However, I just wanted to share this, which was my second ever skein of yarn on the spinning wheel, and I'm really happy with how this came out. It is Burrow and Saw, and in the colourway I See No Stars, and that was sent to me with a lovely drop spindle. Very sweet. You know who you are. If you want this skein of yarn, please let me know. I will try and find you and drop you a message too. But if you sent this and you recognise it and you'd like it and you'd like to knit with it because you didn't want to spin, let me know. So it is, come closer my child, 70% merino and 30% silk. It is gorgeous in colour, and I think I got about 250 metres out of it. I've put my little tag on there just so that I've got the information. But I found this really lovely to spin actually. I was a little bit more conscious and understood a little bit more how much spin I needed to put in it. It's still not, you know, perfect. I can't imagine my own spinning ever being perfect. I think I found it easier to be really consistent on the spindle, but that might be because I'd practiced more and it's a little bit slower. Not that my wheel's very speedy, to be honest. I'm not adjusting that for a while. But using the silk and the merino was really nice. I didn't struggle with it. It was a very stark difference to using the organic British white wool that I'd used beforehand. But I enjoyed spinning it. I think I'm getting better at a more even draft. I'm learning more and more what kind of style I prefer to do, how I like to hold my hands. I am trying to be conscious of not spinning for too long at a time, just like not knitting too much in a row, just taking a little break every now and then, stretching my hands and standing up. But yeah, this I was really pleased with. I actually think it would go lovely with lovely Dimmy, who is TwoGnomesKnit on Instagram, who has some very cool sock patterns. I will say that I've test knitted one of them for her, but she sent me some drops a while ago and it would look lovely with it. But I feel like this should go back to the person that purchased the fibre in the first place. So yes, gorgeous, very happy, and hopefully this can make its way back into a new home. And I think that's everything. Oh, sorry, I tuck you up and then wake you up. The only other thing, I guess, is I will release my Brackenside Pines on Saturday, which again is really nerve-wracking. I try and be honest and clear as best I can here. My use of words is questionable. I try really hard and often can't say quite what I mean. Yeah. I'm a mediator. A turbulent mediator. We're not... Anyway, I'm really excited for this to go live now. I think it is really fun. I will show you a quick little thing. But I recently discovered that the really small fairy lights can be very easily either woven in or just like folded, and maybe I'll try and do a video. And you can have a light up hat. I simply have safety pinned the battery pack into the brim, and it holds really well. And they're lightweight, fits on your head. Oh, that's now a bit wonky. But anyway, really fun. If you're doing carol singing this year, if you just want to be extra, if you're not into the whole novelty sweater thing, it's really fun. And I imagine, and maybe I'll talk more about this another time, but I imagine this being white and red and white, and then having green trees, and then adding like mini tinsel, maybe beads instead if you're not into, but tinsel, fairy lights, maybe some jingle bells, and just doing a really outrageous novelty hat that could also be just a nice, normal, wearable hat too. If you know what I mean, like, you know how we have progress keepers, you could very easily attach the little bulb stitch markers with tiny little Christmas decorations, and then at the end of the holidays you can just take it off and have a nice festive hat. A nice tree-lined hat. Anyway, I had to share, and I will be sharing pictures on Saturday of Alex and I in matching light-up hats, which are quite funny. Not quite as good as we liked, because both of us were completely run down and at the brink of burnout when we took them, but they are fun. So yeah, I hope that you are doing well. I know I said that at the beginning, but I do hope so. I did a little poll recently on how people are feeling. It looked like there was 70% people felt topsy-turvy and 30% felt grounded, so I hope that that is starting to balance once more. If you are celebrating anything this year, I hope that you are doing so and enjoying it, and if you're not, look after yourself. And if you are celebrating, look after yourself. I am trying to figure out ways to start being more festive. I think I'm going to make a wreath this week. I have made my Christmas cards / thank you notes, which I'll show next week. I think I've shared them into Instagram already, so if you're over there you'll have seen them, but if not, I'm quite happy with how they turn out. Very cute. And yeah. Aww, she's talking. I hope that whatever projects you're making are bringing you joy, don't be afraid to rip them out. If they're not, it's good fun. It's very good fun. And if they are bringing you joy, I hope that you get to knit on them and they do genuinely make you smile. So with that, I think I best go and edit this video and try and get a bit more work done today than I have been able to, and don't forget to love each other. I hope to see you again very, very soon.